Stop the cap.
Up. And to me, I feel like this is something not to point fingers or the blame, because I feel like when you divide, obviously that's when you conquer, right? But a big part of the people that I know was not going for Kamala, let's just talk about that whole situation. It wasn't us. It wasn't the black women that wasn't going out and voting. Honestly, I spoke to a lot of black men, and they were not going out to vote.
Statistics tell us that most black men that voted did vote for Kamala.
Exactly.
Well, I'm talking about people like now on radio. I have a lot of people that call in, and they made it very, very clear that they were never going to vote for Kamala ever, is what they said. They said they'd take anyone over her.
So I will say this. So having experienced this myself, I can speak from a place of both power and information. Okay. Sexism is absolutely real in every community. Racism is absolutely real. But let's look at the data. And what the data says is that black men support black women. Black women support black women the most.
Yeah.
But the next highest support system, black men. Now, a lot of folks who call in to tell you what they are going to do weren't planning to do anything anyway.
They didn't vote at all.
And so we need to remember that disinformation often comes by planting people in our communities to fracture our belief systems. Black men voted for me at the same rate they voted for Raphael Warnock. But if you heard the news, black men couldn't stand me, and that is designed to fracture our communities. I think it is so important that you raise that, because one of the misinformation points is that they leverage our inherent mistrust of systems to convince us that we don't have the support that we need.
That's right.
My responsibility is to never let them tell me that my brothers don't love me as much as my sisters do.
Amen.
That's right.
But the other reality is that when they do those exit polls, you got to remember, we are 13% of the population. How exactly are you finding a representative sample when you're only talking to one or two people in every state? They then extrapolate from that in ways that shape narratives but defy math.
That's right.
And so we can't let them tell us who we are. But my point is...
So let me start this video off by saying, obviously, check out the new book. I'll put the link in the description box. I got to come up with a proper intro, and I haven't done that yet. But I wanted to say this. I wanted to make this video. I know I have, again, some other videos I'm behind on, so those probably won't have the intros because they're already formatted. I just haven't uploaded them yet. The reason I'm making this video is because I wanted to give a shout out to Stacey Abrams. And I'm saying this as somebody who I'm not from Georgia. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the things that Stacey Abrams has said in the past. I get irritated at the gun control, tired of people running around talking about, oh, there's Nazis, there's white supremacists everywhere, and oh, they're coming to get you. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to strap up to be able to protect myself. Oh no, us blacks, we need some gun control. You know, like, I'm so tired of that coming from the DNC, because it's a DNC talking point. Real, true, pro-black people would be focused on, one, economic empowerment in the black community, particularly with black men, especially when, again, all that traditional, slamming the men and men should provide and everything else. But then when you're like, hey, can the squeaky wheel get some oil? Then everybody, runs in the other direction. But then also, when it comes to black empowerment, black people arm self-defense. The main reason why black communities, as I have listed in the book, black communities were burnt down is because they couldn't defend themselves. They couldn't protect themselves. And white people have shown us their ass, and they have, they have that track record. And so I don't know why black people are running around acting like shit is sweet, acting like they can't, purge black people at any given time when they outnumber black people, like 5-1. I don't understand it. I simply do not understand, black people when it comes to that. Right. The whole, oh, what about the guns and the thugs in the community and all that other stuff? All that is directly tied to the lack of economic opportunities. Solve the lack of economic opportunities and you won't have a gang problem. You won't have a young black man shooting up the neighborhood problem. But because you don't want to talk about putting money in the hands of young black men, you're going to have a gang problem. You're going to have a gun violence problem. You know, every other community, when it comes to the men having guns, the guns are for protection of, you know, their families, their households, and their community. But we have the lowest marriage rate of all the communities. You know, we have the highest single mother rate of all the communities, right? And we have the lowest, pairing of all the communities. So when it comes to the idea of, Papa Patriarch in the house taking care of, his castle, in the matriarchal black community, that's like a weak ass concept. It's just weak. And that, in my opinion, influences, our relationship with guns, where in particularly black women only see guns through the aspect of guns being used against them. Even though women run around and they talk about empowerment, it always baffles me the way in which you'll have women talking about black women being violated every so and so hours and how, black women need to be protected. But then when I say, okay, y'all need to get a gun and protect yourself, you know what I mean? They're totally against the idea of possessing any gun. You know what I mean? They're hoplophobes. I always find that interesting. If I was the most violated group, regardless of race or gender, I would want to protect myself. I'm like, oh, you saying I got a such and such a percentage chance of being attacked? I might have something on me. I ain't gonna be out. If I'm a target, if that's my claim to fame, if that's my argument, then you ain't gonna see me out there with nothing but my ass. That's for damn sure. Maybe that's a male perspective, but I'm just saying when it comes to women, you have women who, they talk a good game about, women being protected and everything. But when I say, hey, sometimes a man's not going to be around or the community is broken right now, you might want to protect yourself. They go down the route of, guns bad. Okay. It's just annoying. But anyway, that Stacey Abrams on the gun control issue, that was a big issue for me. Because to me, it's a DNC talking point, and there's nothing pro-black about telling black people that they need to be disarmed. There's nothing pro-black about that. It is a DNC white New York yuppie liberal stance, and that's literally what it is. And that's why, in my opinion, black people need their own party, or they need a party or some sort of group that is unaffiliated, or how I want to say this, that doesn't singularly operate along party lines. And that's a problem that we have. So that's always going to be an issue that I have with Stacey Abrams and, what's his name, the Warnick and all that. But let me say this. In this clip, this media, whatever the heck the clip is, I posted it on my shorts. This clip was refreshing. And this clip is something that that black men need to see more of coming from black women. Because as you can see, and now somebody said that woman, the little blonde, the blonde light-skinned woman, that was the woman that Michael B. Jordan checked because they went to high school together, and that she tried to throw him under the bus or something like that. She rejected him. And then, now obviously he's heartthrob Michael B. Jordan. So I somebody was saying that that's the clip. I didn't go back to double check and verify, but somebody was saying that isn't that the same chick, from that did the interview with Michael B. Jordan. And he was like, yeah, I was corny, remember? You know what I mean? So she's if that's her, like, she's been on that bullshit. These little sneak disses at black men, and black men are so used to that. We're so like the conversation, the space has been taken over by these feminist anti-black male misandrists, and I've been noticing I need to start making a distinction between now let me say this. I don't know any just pure feminists. Like if you could take feminism and bottle it up in some pure unadulterated form, I don't know of any black, pure feminist. All I know is the women who label themselves feminists, they always end up saying some misandrous shit. They always end up saying some man hating or some black male hating, what would we call it? Misandry noir? Is that what we call it? You know how black women like to run around and talk about misogyny noir. No, we're talking about misandry noir. There's a lot of misandry noir going on, in the black community, and it doesn't get talked about enough. When black men step out and they date outside the race or go somewhere else because we're told that we ain't shit and we're not liked and everything else, abandonment. You know what I mean? Then when we stick around, then all the claims that get made is, it's nothing but abuse. I'm like, I can't win either way as a black man. If I stick around, I'm abusive. If I go over the fence, it's abandonment and I hate black women and I'm self-hating and all this other shit. You can't fucking win. This has been going on forever. Black women just want to have it their way. Okay. But I'm saying, cause, and I could go and find the clips and all that shit. I'll probably just put the links in the description or in the comment section or whatever. You know what I mean? But there's been shit that Stacey Abrams has said in the past that I didn't particularly care for, and I made a rant or two, railing against her. Especially when it came down to the whatever election she was trying to win, and black people were going crazy, and again, it was a lot of ignoring black men's concerns. When people want to talk about the black people who voted for Trump, I didn't vote for Trump or vote for Kamala Harris because the Democrats ignore us, and the Republicans are filled with fucking racists. Again, this is what I talk about when I talk about black men are politically homeless. Okay, there isn't a policy that has been set forth by either party that specifically targets and focuses on improving black men's quality of life. There isn't a single one. They can always talk about how the black man is the boogeyman and we're going to lock niggas up and throw them in jail, but when it comes to policies specific to improving and the quality of life of black males, ain't nobody addressing our issues. So as far as I'm concerned, as a black man, fuck everybody. But yet still, the majority of black men voted for the Democrat Party. The majority of black men voted in alignment with the black women who overwhelmingly of those who voted for Kamala Harris. And I hate the whole, of those that voted, and then that becomes like a representation of like all black women, all 92% of black women voted for Kamala. No, of those that voted. And we don't really get to see who actually gets how I want to say this. We don't get to see the comparison of all the dissatisfied people who just simply did not vote versus the small minority of people who actually voted. It's usually a minority of people who actually vote. If you look at any state race, it's only 1/3 of the population that actually votes for any particular governor. Everybody else just didn't vote, didn't care, or was whatever, or wasn't moved to go to the polls. You see, so when people run around, they're 92% of black. 92% of what? 92% of what? How many actually voted? How many didn't vote? Because then you come to find out, it was 92% of only 30% of black women or something like that. That's what you would find out if you looked at the numbers. Or 92% of only 50% of the total number of black women went and voted for, Kamala Harris. It's of those who voted. Okay, which one of the women on the panel actually said. But I'm just saying, people keep throwing around percentages without understanding the context of the percentages. It's annoying. Okay, you got to understand how to read or interpret numbers and statistics. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that as some sort of how do you say the word statistician, right? Or statistician, right? I'm not saying that as somebody, who claims that math was their favorite subject. But the shit that I see people doing is just blatantly off. But anyway, I'm making this video to say all this, that again, when a black woman does something that is now, some people, I know there's going to be some people jump up and saying, oh, well, you know, you give him praise over some shit that bitch should do. You know, they'll say some bullshit like that. I'm just saying, okay, and it was fairly immediate. It was fairly immediate to all three of the dark-skinned women that were on that panel. And I'm going to get to the optics in a minute, right? Because it was three dark-skinned black women and one light-skinned black woman who was trying to throw black men underneath the bus. And I'm like, you want to start talking about the ways in which, viewing dark-skinned black women differently, it's clips like this. I'm just saying it's a start in the right direction, as opposed to, all these Filipinos and light skin and beige women that jump up and they end up being the ones saying positive things about black men while all the dark skinned women say nothing but a bunch of negative shit. Okay. So when it comes to this clip of Stacey Abrams, up there, and even the woman, that she kind of referred to a little bit, cause she spoke first. The woman on the far right, she spoke first. She was like, actually, the numbers, and this is something that we had to address, because when the, and see, that's like what I'm trying to say is it goes to show you the base level, hatred of black men, like what happened when Donald Trump won the election. And there were black women that were like, they made all type of videos cursing us the fuck out. Black men, we will never forgive you. They were spitting on our name crazy. And I'm like, and you don't even have the numbers. You don't even have the numbers. You don't even know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, what was it? It was black women voted at like 92%. Black men, voted for Kamala. What was it? Hold on, let me see. Let me pull this up. Let me pull the numbers up. What percentage of black men and black women voted for Kamala? Let me make sure I get these numbers right. Exit polls showed majority of black men and women voted for Kamala. What, give me the percentages. Give me the percentages. All right, so this is saying 92% of black women and 78% of black men voted for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, yeah. So again, you got to ask yourself, why the discrepancy, right? Why that little slight discrepancy? But the overwhelming majority of black men, almost 80%, voted for Kamala Harris. Now again, I've already explained the discrepancy, when it comes to black men. Again, the same thing applies to all the other races, of men as well. Because the DNC has consistently demonized men. That's why they put that panel together talking about how do we get the men over here. You know what I mean? And trust and believe that Barack Obama coming out talking about what's going on with the brothers, that did not help. That did nobody listens to our concerns. But then when it comes time to, oh, you need to come out and vote. Oh, you need to come out and vote. Oh, you black man, you need to come out and vote. Y'all niggas don't be thinking independently. Fuck that now. Y'all niggas need to come out and vote. When it comes to that, then all of a sudden, that's the only time our name comes up. Our name only comes up when people need us at midnight and it is 11:59. When it's 11:59, that's when people come out and they finally want to address black men. You know what I mean? But when any other time, nah, we're invisible. We're invisible. Nobody cares about what we think. We're just used as the pariahs, the boogeyman, the bane of Western civilization, black fatigue, right? Because when they're talking about black fatigue, who are they primarily talking about? They're talking about black men. Oh, it's black fatigue. Oh, I got so much black fatigue. All that shit, right? And then black women go over there and act like they're the model minority. Hell, they do the same thing that we criticize the tethers about doing. You know what I mean? Sitting there, oh, I mean, we're just so much better, and you guys just don't know how to get it together, and us black women, we're just doing just so well, and we're just doing big things, and we're killing it, and we're leaving men in the dust, you know. And then when you say, okay, can we get some programs for these young boys, you know, to transition them into manhood? Well, I mean, I see your Title IV, but I'm going to have to counter you with a Title IX. I'm like, but you're already killing it. Like, do you need assistance? Do you need programs? Now, personally, I think black women and girls do, right? Because for some stupid ass reason in the black community, the only thing that the black community wants to talk about is black female excellence. It doesn't want to talk about, you know, the 17-year-old girl that got pregnant in high school and now has to do co-op and is struggling, right? They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the girls that are, you know, don't go off to college or don't go out there and get some sort of, you know, professional degree or certificate or whatever. That whole population gets ignored because everybody's so busy talking about black female excellence, right? When the majority of black women disproportionately live in poverty, right? When only like, what is it? Like, I think it's like, what is it? If I'm not mistaken, I want to say like 26% of black men and then like 34% or something like that of black women go to college. Okay, that's less than 1/3. So why is it when it comes to black women, we ignore the other 2/3 of black women, but when it comes to black men, we hyper focus on the other 2/3 of black men. When it comes to black men, we focus on, oh, well, majority rules and this is negative. And so therefore we're going to focus on the majority of black men who just can't seem to get it together. Right. But then when the majority of black women can't seem to get it together, we don't focus on that. We highlight the black women of black excellence. We highlight the Ebony K. Williams and the Oprah Winfrey's and the, you know, whoever other else, you know, black woman you want to speak of. Right. You know, or we'll sit there and we'll talk about, you know, Stacey Abrams, who is single and childless. Yet if she was a man, you know, there'd be all type of criticisms, accusations of being gay and a homosexual. You see? So, no, I just wanted to acknowledge. I'm like, nah, I gotta give her credit when credit is due, because that was an actual defense. That wasn't just some like, you know, that wasn't just like a half-ass, you know, defense of black men. That was actually like, no, you're actually wrong. I'm not trying to attack you, but like, we got to stop feeding into these fucking narratives, you know, when the numbers don't show that. And again, I say the same exact thing about this whole issue with the, what the hell was I talking about? This whole issue with black men being fathers. When you got 61% of black women underneath the age of 50 and 46% of black men underneath the age of 50, you know, who are fathers versus the women who are mothers. And again, black women it's a higher percentage of a larger population. You know, and I seen Media Man, he's posting videos and you know, that statement that he took, well, that was from Black Demographics. I was like, that's not from the CDC, because the CDC don't really, you know, give a shit. The CDC puts the information out. They don't care how you really interpret it. But again, those numbers are from overall fertility. Those numbers are not about, how I want to say this. Those numbers are broken down by demographics, but the entire report was about all fertility. This was an incidental finding. The idea that black men are not only have less kids than black women, but there's fewer fathers than black mothers was an incidental finding. You know what I mean? And again, the person that has to be given credit, you know, for pointing that out is BGS. Because BGS, he's the one that went and got the report from 2023 and then passed it on to Kevin Samuels. And then Kevin Samuels was throwing around the 54%. And then I had to follow that. I'm like, where are y'all getting these numbers from? So I had to go and look at the report myself and then actually crunch the numbers, because I hate percentages. I'm like 54% of what? How many black women do we have in this country? FBA women do we have in this country? Oh, we got 22 million. Oh, how many black FBA men do we have in this country? Oh, we got 20 million. Right? And I'm like, okay. And then, going on, they move the age group clustering up to, 50, because by 50, most people are done with having kids. Most people who are going to have kids, they've already had kids. You got a couple stragglers over the age of 50, when it comes to the men, but women are pretty much done. You don't see a whole bunch of women having their first child at 51, right? Or 50. So that shit was an incidental finding. But see, the thing is what a lot of these women didn't like, these misandrous freaking women masquerading as feminist in the purest sense of the term feminist, is that it totally unraveled the narrative that black men were just out here being just bastard baby makers and spreading their seed all over the place. No, the reality is you got a small minority of black men that are out here, getting a lot of women pregnant. That's the reality. Most black men only have one child. The average for black men is one child. It's actually less than one. It's 0.9. But the average number for black women is 2. And then you throw in that fact that 59% are going, according to Cassandra Doris, 59% of black women have kids by more than one man. It's like that changes the narrative. People want to run around, they want to talk about sexual discipline and who's delaying, parenthood and who's delaying fatherhood. It's men. Men are the ones saying, nah, man, I can't have any kids until I get my shit together. Not women. Women will have kids underneath any circumstance. So I'm saying these narratives, I mean, this is a defense of a narrative. Well, how do I say this? She defended black men based off of numbers, just as I'm defending black men based off of numbers. Nobody's coming through and saying black men are perfect, that black men don't have problems, that it's only black women who have problems. But when it comes to certain areas, when it comes to certain topics, nah, there's, you want to talk about gang crime and everything? Okay, we got to go over there and look at black men. But when you want to talk about all these kids that are going without, all these kids that are struggling and have absentee fathers, first off, they're going to have an absentee father if you got like this, like the future situation. In the future situation, that is the best example, because those kids only get 1/8 of his time. What was baby mom? I'll give baby mama number 1 a pass, because there's no way of knowing that a woman is going to go off a man is going to go off and have a bunch of other kids with other women. There's no way for any person to know that. The first person is, they're protected from any of these arguments, male or female. Like there's no way to know that you go and your baby daddy number 1, it doesn't work. There's no way to knowing that she's going to go off and have, 7 more kids by 5 other dudes. There's no way to know that you're clustered in with that group, but you don't have any more kids. But she went off and had a whole football team of more kids. You see what I'm saying? There's no way for the first person to know that. So the first person gets a pass. But when it comes to 2, 3, 4, and 5, I still ask the question. I'm like, Sierra, what were you doing, girl? What the fuck were you doing? She was what, baby mama number? She was 4 or 5. I forget which one. I think it was 4. She was baby mama number 4 when it came to future. And I'm like, what? Like, explain that to me. Unpack that. Break that down for me. Make up a reason. I just want an explanation. But see, that right there is way more prevalent in the BC, than people want to acknowledge. It's way more prevalent in the BC. You see? But yet somehow, the rest of the black men, the 54% of black men that at any given time, when you take a snapshot of the community, we somehow get blamed for that shit. See, when you start going off of, evidence-based, stereotypes or criteria, obviously with an added layer of nuance, right? But when you start actually looking at the numbers, a lot of these narratives, they just simply fall apart. They simply fall apart. That whole deadbeat dad and black men out here, just kids all over the place and not taking care of their kids, that shit falls apart. Again, the main thing that's going on in the black community is multi-partner family formation, as I've said before. We have a lot of multi-partner family formation. 42% of black children are being raised in houses where they have one biological parent and one non-biological parent. And as I've stated before, when it comes to black men, there's a lot of black men, and this is just the reality of it. Men tend to take care of the kids that live underneath their roof. If they have an outside kid, and that outside kid lives with the mother, and if that mother lives with, her boyfriend or whatever the heck's going on over there, it's kind of assumed, right, even though it shouldn't be, well, that boy's with their mother. Or that girl's with their mother, right? He might be paying child support, but the thing is when it comes to, these sort of situations of these multi-partner family formations, men tend to take care of, they will take care of you got to understand, when I say children underneath their roof, this includes a stepchild and whatever biological child that they have with the single mom that they got with. Their stepchild is going to get more love and attention and affection from them than even their biological child. Why? Because that's what happens when you split households and women get primary custody most of the time. That's what's going to happen. And listening to a lot of people's stories that had situations like that, I hear constantly this whole concept that people being frustrated at the fact that their father was more of a father to a stepchild than they were them. And it's like, yeah, that is fucked up. And that is something that men have to make a concerted effort to make sure that doesn't happen. But you got to recognize the difficulty in doing that when your child maybe lives a state away or maybe lives, 45 minutes to an hour away. But when you come home and you get off work and you walk in the door and you got one of these, blended families and split households, when he comes home to, his half, I should say half, his, what would that be? No, that's his child. So not his half. But his child's half sibling, his first child's half sibling, he comes home to his first child's half sibling, and he comes home to a stepchild, that the woman that he's now with has with somebody else, or had by somebody else. I'm sorry, not has with, had by somebody else. That's the reality. And that's a whole household over there. You got, his full biological child and his biological child's half sibling from his second marriage, and then obviously his first child lives across town or lives in another state or something like that. So he's not going to see that child, every day. That child's not going to interact with him every day. That child may interact with him maybe every other weekend. So that's the more accurate picture of what goes on in the black community, because of these very unstable relationships that start off at a very young age. And, good luck trying to tell a 22-year-old chick with a 1-year-old that she has to stick to the guy that she got with initially, and the same thing with the dude. If that relationship fails, they're going to go out there and try to date like they're childless. That's what's going to happen. So seriously speaking, if we could delay pregnancy, if we could delay people having babies, if we could really delay that in the black community, we would, I'm not going to say all the problems would go away, because there's still the other issues like economic issues and all that. But I'm saying if we could do that, we could solve a lot of the shit that goes on, a lot of the gender war fighting and stuff like that. If we could delay that, and get people to where they were making full adult, well thought out decisions as it pertains to when they started started a family. But I'm saying all that, and tying it into, Stacey Abrams actually allowing the data to drive the narrative, as opposed to simply, this bullshit that's been going on in the black community for so long, where people just suck their finger and they stick it in the air and they say, oh, due east. And they just say, oh, well, I have a feeling that black men are the culprits here. I have a feeling that black men are the problem here. I'm like, did you even look at the numbers? Did you even try to figure out whether you're even in the ballpark? You're not even in the stadium. And you're talking shit with gusto, with vigor, with all sorts of anger. I'm like, but you don't even know what the numbers are. You don't even remotely know what the numbers are. You're just saying this shit. And then again, the retarded part is, and a lot of these women that are saying this shit is supposed to be the most educated. They're supposed to be the most educated, but yet they can't even get the goddamn numbers right. You see what I'm saying? They can't even get the numbers right. Or are completely ignoring the numbers, but are so focused on running a narrative. And I wonder sometimes, if it comes out of just pure misandry, or if it comes out of, the sort of psychological warfare coming from the system of white supremacy to get black women to believe certain things about black men that are wholly untrue, that are just wholly untrue. You know what I'm saying? And to sit there and kick up dust and be that mad, at this sort of at black men based off of these narratives that you didn't even take the time. You didn't even take the time to sit there and go over and say, you know what? Let me see if this is true. Let me see if this is accurate. And again, we've all been victims of this shit, because when it comes to black men, it's like when Jenks Morton was going around years ago. Are there more black men in jail, or are there more black men in college? And damn near everybody said there's more black men in jail than in college. And that's just simply not true. Jail is 18 to what? The day you die. You got people serving life sentences in jail. College is 18 to 24. 18 to 24. So already, all off top, that's a fucked up comparison. Off top, it's a fucked up comparison. You know what I mean? But even when you sit there and you look at the numbers, you come to find out that there's more black men that are in college than in jail. But it's the belief that there's more black men. You got to think about how that affects everybody's psyche, how they even interact with black men when they believe that there's more black men in jail than there are, in college. Now, that was a couple years ago. I don't know what's going on currently right now, because, they're saying a lot of brothers are not going to college, right? But, I mean, looking at the current climate and looking at the fact that, for the first time, you have fresh college graduates that have a higher unemployment rate than college grads. I mean, in 2024, only 12% of college grads were able to secure employment, where I believe prior to that, it was about 40 something percent. 40 something percent, probably 45%, 46%, something like that, were able to secure a job, just under half. And now we're down to 12%. And people are like, oh, you black men, you ain't going to college. Well, it sounds like college ain't working out for all these people that went to college. And now they got all that student loan debt and they got to pay it back. And they're just in the hole. You see, they got to pay all that money back. So what's that looking like? You trying to sell college to black men who are already economically disadvantaged, and get black men to go out here and put themselves in copious amounts of student loan debt, right? When you got young white people at that can't find work. They're getting replaced by AI. Entry-level jobs are going the way of the dodo. But yet everybody wants to run around talking about, oh, you black men, you need to get yourself in debt. That's what it sounds like. It don't sound like go to college, get yourself in college. No, it sounds like get yourself into some debt so that we can make you a debt slave for the rest of your life in this moo-ha-ha system of capitalism set up by white men. That's what it sounds like. You see, and then you throw on the black women lost 300,000 jobs because of the Trump administration and their efforts to dismantle what the heck you want to call it, all these so-called DEI practices. The Trump administration is funny. What did Trump do with HBCUs? Because it's so funny with Trump and the Trump administration. Let me see. Did he defund it or did he add money to it? I'm pretty sure he added. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so in 2019, this is 2019. Signed. This is what I don't get. So we're gonna get rid of all the black women in the government jobs, right? Let me see. So I just want to say this, right? So this is what. Okay, so let me read what Trump has done for HBCUs, right? Because we're all about fairness here, right? So Trump, this is a weird thing, right? Because it's just mixed. It's a mixed fucking bag. Okay, it's Trump with the white nationalist, and we want to make America, a majority white country and keep it that way, and there's dog whistles of anti-blackness and everything else, right? I know we ain't with the Somalis right now because they ain't black according to them. So what do we care, right? But I'm saying, all right, where we at? Donald Trump did this regarding historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs. Some of these actions built on previous administrations and some were new. I'll separate the facts from political claims so that you have an accurate picture. So, number one, signed the Future Act 2019. This is the biggest, most concrete policy impact. It made permanent the federal funding stream known as Title III, Part F, which gives $255 million per year to HBCUs and other minority-serving institutions. Before Trump signed it, the money had to be renewed by Congress every year or two. So Trump locked it in. Impact, stabilized long-term funding, let HBCUs plan ahead financially, remove the annual funding cliff fight. So basically, how every year, there's this whole, the government has to be funded and all that other stuff, right? That goes on. That was going on the same way for HBCUs. Trump locked it in. This is widely seen as the strongest HBCU legislation in over a decade. Number two, restored and increased year-to-year HBCU funding. Under Trump, federal discriminatory support for HBCUs rose, mostly through increases in annual budgets. Examples, 2018 Department of Education funding for HBCUs increased by roughly 14%. 2019, another increase, including boosts to research and STEM funding. These weren't all brand new programs, but HBCUs did see more federal funding. Number three, move to HBCU initiative into the White House, 2017. Trump signed an executive order relocating the White House initiative on HBCUs from the Department of Education to the Executive Office of the President. The idea was to give HBCUs better access to federal agencies and more visibility. HBCU leaders appreciated the gesture, though critics noted that the move itself didn't guarantee outcomes unless paired with funding, which later came through the Future Act, which I already talked about, which came in 2019. Increased federal agency engagement with HBCUs. Trump instructed all federal agencies to develop annual HBCU support plans, increase research grants and contract opportunities, improve communication with HBCU administrations. Some agencies like Defense, Energy, NASA, and the NIH did increase partnerships. 5, debt relief for certain HBCUs hit by natural disasters. In 2018-2019, Congress with Trump signed the bills approved loan forgiveness for several HBCUs damaged by Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. This wiped out over $300 million in debt for schools like Dillard University, Xavier University, Southern University, and AMN College. This was a major financial relief of those campuses. Balanced view. Supporters say Trump delivered permanent mandatory funding, historic increased overall funding, stronger White House visibility, faster access to federal grants. Critics argue many increases originated in bipartisan legislation. Trump sometimes took credit for programs started under Obama and Bush. Political rhetoric often overstated the administration's role. Still, the Future Act's permanent funding is widely acknowledged as a single biggest concrete achievement. Let me see. Has Trump done anything for HBCUs in 2025? Let's see. Yes, as of 2025, Trump has taken several actions or his administration affecting historically black colleges and universities. What Trump has done for HBCUs in 2025. On April 23rd, 2025, Trump signed an executive order establishing a new White House initiative and historically black colleges and universities. This reinstates a White House-led framework to support HBCUs, focusing on institutional planning and development, infrastructure modernization, private sector partnerships, workforce pipelines, and expanding opportunities for HBCU students. In September 2025, his administration announced that the federal government would relocate additional discriminatory funding, a one-time boost towards HBCUs and tribal colleges. The result, over $1.34 billion allocated to HBCUs for fiscal year 2025, representing a roughly 48% increase over prior funding levels. What's more complicated / context controversy? The funding increases came at the same time the administration cut or eliminated certain grant programs supporting other types of minority-serving institutions, Hispanic-serving institutions. The support is partly redirected funding, meaning some observers argue it reflects a reallocation rather than an overall expansion of resources for underrepresented students. So basically, how can we sum that up? He took money away from the Hispanics, okay? I would vote por Donald Trump. He took money away from the Hispanics and then gave it to the black people. What this means in practice, HBCUs get a major influx of federal funds in 2025, which could help with campus infrastructure, academic programs, student support, and institutional stability. The new White House initiative signals that HBCUs are a visible priority under the administration. However, the shift also reflects a policy choice prioritizing HBCUs while reducing support for other minority servicing colleges, which may affect broader educational equity among minority groups. So this is why, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some people may not, because, technically speaking, he's hooking up the black people and basically saying, fuck everybody else who ain't black. If you a minority group, if you came here from Bangladesh, if you came here from Honduras, if you came here from Morocco, or other group, they're like, nah, this is for FBA. This is some FBA shit. I'm gonna keep it a buck. You know what I mean? So technically, this is kind of not leaning towards mixed bag. Now, it may be a problem after, okay, you go to school, you get your degree, you're at the HBCUs, your schools are well-funded, and then when you try to apply for jobs, even though this did talk about a work pipeline, but when you try to apply for jobs, we don't believe in DEI and CRT and they're unqualified and all that bullshit, that they try to jump up and make the claims of. I don't know. So, and not to mention the fact, let's face it, if black men are not going to college, who is this helping the most? This is helping black women. I mean, if black women are the ones that are disproportionately at HBCUs. So I'm like, y'all lost 300,000 jobs in the workforce, but he putting money into these HBCUs that are overwhelmingly, disproportionately black women, right? I mean, because this is even talk about when it comes to student loan, forgiveness. Student loan forgiveness would benefit black women in the black community more than it would benefit black men. So, and mind you, black women have the highest student loan debt, out of all groups. So, I'm just saying. See, when you focus on what's real and the actual information of what's going on, as opposed to these narratives that people want to throw up, you see, now you got to change your whole framing has to change. Your anger has to be redirected as something else. Donald Trump hates black people. Yeah, Donald Trump says a lot of out of pocket shit. He's like the grandpa that you need to take his fucking keys away. However, I'm like, when you look at some of these actions, just saying, but this is why the black community has to become more information and data driven, as opposed to constantly getting in our feelings when it comes to what's really going on and being told by those whose interest it serves, being told by those people who benefit from us getting angry, emotionally angry at, narratives about, who our enemy is and who the problem is, as opposed to us discovering that for ourselves. It's in my opinion, it's a major problem in the black community. It's a major problem. These non-information based narratives that people just blurt out there. But yeah, so when it comes to the Trump administration and y'all working in his government, that hurt black women. But when it comes to black women getting funded and supported via education through HBCUs, that helps black women. So, that is definitely a mixed bag, specifically as it pertains to black women. So I'm like, how much dust are y'all really going to, kick up? Now, personally, I would rather have the jobs than have just the educational component, obviously, if I was a black woman, because, I got bills now. Like, I'm not in college, right? That's the sort of attitude. But I'm just saying, if you're going to tell the story, tell the whole story. But anyway, I'm done with this video. That's all I wanted to say. That's my video, SWPL. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.
On the scene, diamond blingy, whole screen. Check a boy, Louis V. I'm so fresh and so clean. Stuff them bands in my jeans, slap them 30s in them things. Pull the trigger, let it sing. Then go smoke a Russian cream.
Boo, hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
Where
Where we at? Oh, you want to know where I'm at? We outside!